Let me start with a simple story. A few years ago, I was stuck in traffic. The kind of traffic that makes you question your life choices. A man cut right in front of me without a signal. My instinct, rage. I gripped the wheel tighter. My heart rate jumped. And for the next 15 minutes, I wasn't thinking about my meeting or my goals. I was just angry at a stranger in a car I'd never see again. And then I had this thought, see, we've been taught to react. Someone offends us. React. Someone insults us. Defend. Someone ignores us. Take it personally. But what if I told you there's a better way? Not by suppressing anger, but by understanding what triggers it and choosing something different. Here's a mindset shift that changed my life. They're not doing it to me. They're just doing it. That colleague who interrupts everyone, they interrupt everyone, not just you. That friend who forgot your birthday. They forget everyone's birthday. It's not personal. It's not targeted. It's just who they are. And when we realize that, something beautiful happens. We stop reacting. We start observing. Most of the frustration we experience in life doesn't come from what actually happens. It comes from what we thought was supposed to happen. It's not the delay, the silence, or the rudeness that truly gets to us. It's the expectations we placed on people and situations and the emotional response we feel when those expectations aren't met. Think about it. You expect someone to respond to your message within an hour and they take a day. You feel ignored, maybe even disrespected. But was it their silence that upset you, or was it your belief that they should have responded sooner? Expectations are invisible contracts we write in our heads. We project them onto others without telling them. We expect our partner to know when we're upset. We expect a friend to always remember our birthday. We expect coworkers to see things the way we do. When people don't meet those unspoken agreements, we feel betrayed not because of their actions, but because they violated the script we wrote without their knowledge or consent. This is where a lot of anger and resentment begin, not in reality, but in assumption. We forget that everyone is living their own story, fighting their own battles, and following their own logic. We imagine that they should see the world exactly as we do, respond as we would, and act according to our values. But they don't. They act according to theirs. Now, this doesn't mean we should never have expectations. It means we should examine them. Are they realistic? Are they clearly communicated? Are they fair? And just as importantly, are we open to the possibility that people will fall short? Because they will. People will forget. They'll miscommunicate. They'll be distracted, selfish, tired, or just human. And if we go through life expecting perfection, we set ourselves up for constant disappointment. We give our peace away for free. But if we choose to expect imperfection not out of cynicism, but out of understanding, we change the way we experience life. When someone interrupts you, instead of thinking, how dare they? You might think maybe they're just not self-aware. When someone flakes on a plan, instead of they don't care about me, maybe it's they're probably overwhelmed. When someone lashes out, instead of they're attacking me, perhaps it's they might be in pain. This doesn't mean we tolerate poor behavior. It means we don't take it personally. It means we stop letting unmet expectations control our emotions. This shift doesn't just make us calmer, it makes us kinder. It opens the door to curiosity instead of judgment, to questions instead of accusations. Instead of reacting in anger, we respond with perspective. It also gives us more control, because when your peace depends on others acting a certain way, you're constantly vulnerable. But when your peace comes from managing your own mind and your own expectations, you're in charge. So next time you feel anger rising, pause and ask yourself, what did I expect that isn't happening right now? And more importantly, is that expectation helping me or hurting me? Because at the end of the day, the world will continue to do what it does. People will be people. But your peace, that's your responsibility, not by controlling others, but by mastering your expectations of them. When someone speaks harshly, ignores you, or acts in a way that feels disrespectful, the natural instinct is to respectful. Personally, we feel slighted, rejected, even attacked. But here's the truth most of us overlook. People's behavior is rarely about us, it's almost always about them. Everyone is operating from their own internal world. Their upbringing, fears, values, pain, stress levels, past experiences, and even how much sleep they got the night before, all of that shapes how they act. Yet, when someone mistreats us or disappoints us, we immediately place ourselves at the center of the story. They must not like me. I must have done something wrong. They're doing this to hurt me. But what if it's not about you at all? Consider a time when you were having a bad day. Maybe you were short with someone or didn't respond to a message. It probably had nothing to do with that person. You were just stressed, tired, or preoccupied. Now flip the perspective. Why do we assume that when others do the same, it must be an intentional slight aimed directly at us? Taking things personally makes every interaction heavier than it needs to be. It causes us to carry emotional burdens that were never ours to begin with. Someone makes a rude comment, and we replay it all day, wondering what we did wrong. But often that comment reveals more about their mindset than your worth. It might reflect their insecurity, jealousy, or frustration, not a meaningful evaluation of you. This shift in thinking doesn't mean we excuse all behavior. It simply means we stop assigning it personal meaning. There's a big difference between recognizing bad behavior and absorbing it. When you stop taking things personally, you can address problems with clarity instead of defensiveness. You can set boundaries without feeling like you're overreacting or being petty. You can respond instead of react. We must also realize that most people aren't thinking about us as much as we imagine. They're focused on themselves just like we are. Their actions aren't part of a secret plan to offend or upset us. They're often just doing what they've always done. And we happen to be in the path. One of the most freeing things you can do for your peace of mind is to let go of the need for others to act a certain way so you can feel okay. When someone doesn't acknowledge your work, it doesn't mean it's not valuable. When a friend pulls away, it doesn't always mean they're angry at you. Maybe they're just going through something they haven't shared. The less personally you take things, the more emotionally resilient you become. You stop internalizing every slight, every cold glance, every awkward silence. You develop the ability to stay grounded no matter what storm someone else is in. This isn't easy. It takes self-awareness and emotional maturity. But it's a powerful way to reclaim your peace. Because once you realize that most people are acting from their own story, not reacting to yours, you stop giving away your energy to things that were never truly about you. You learn to observe without absorbing, to listen without defending, and to let go without needing closure. In that space, you gain something far more valuable than momentary validation, inner freedom. And that, more than anything, is how you protect your peace in a world full of noise. There's a quiet but powerful truth that can change the way you move through the world. Your worth is not tied to how others treat you. It's not dependent on how often you're praised, how liked you are, or how much attention you receive. Yet, so many of us live as though it is. We let our self-esteem rise and fall based on someone else's words, tone, or approval. We give other people the power to validate or devalue us, often without even realizing it. It starts early. We're conditioned to believe that we are good when we are rewarded and bad when we are criticized. Over time, we begin to internalize this pattern. If someone compliments us, we feel worthy. If someone ignores us, we question ourselves. If someone rejects us, we assume something is wrong with us. But here's the problem with this pattern. It makes your value conditional. When you attach your worth to how others behave, you make yourself emotionally dependent on something you can't control. You may spend your energy trying to please everyone, trying to be accepted, trying to earn love, respect, or even basic decency. But the truth is, no matter how kind, talented, or hardworking you are, there will always be people who don't see your value. And if your self-worth hinges on being seen, then you'll constantly be vulnerable to their blindness. People are inconsistent. They see you through the lens of their own mood, mindset, and past. Someone having a bad day may snap at you not because you did something wrong, but because they're overwhelmed. Someone insecure might criticize you not because you're flawed, but because your confidence threatens them. Their behavior says more about them than it ever will about you. When you detach your worth from external behavior, you take back your power. You begin to understand that your value is inherent. It doesn't fluctuate based on how someone else feels that day. It isn't up for debate. You start to build an internal foundation that doesn't crack every time someone doesn't clap for you. That doesn't mean you ignore feedback or live in denial. It means you stop letting external opinions define your internal reality. You can listen without losing yourself. You can reflect without collapsing. You can be open without being broken. The strongest people aren't the ones who never get hurt. They're the ones who don't let hurt turn into self-doubt. They know who they are even when no one's watching, even when the room is silent, even when others project their insecurities onto them. When you know your worth, you set better boundaries. You stop over-explaining, over-apologizing, and over-performing. You no longer feel the need to convince people to see your value because you've already seen it for yourself. You become less reactive, more grounded, less desperate, more centered. And here's what's truly beautiful. When you detach your worth from how others behave, you actually become more compassionate. You stop needing people to act a certain way just to feel okay. You give grace more freely because their actions are no longer threats to your identity. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. You're not above anyone, you're simply rooted in a deeper truth. So the next time someone disrespects you, dismisses you, or overlooks you, remember, you are not the reflection in their eyes. You are the light that shines regardless. And that light, it doesn't dim just because someone else refuses to look. One of the most powerful ways to create peace in your life is to stop expecting perfection from others and from yourself. We live in a world that constantly pressures us to perform, to succeed, to get everything right. That pressure doesn't just come from society or social media. It shows up in our relationships, our workplaces, and even our inner dialogue. We carry around silent expectations that people will always be thoughtful, always be reliable, always be kind. And we expect ourselves to never mess up, never forget, never fall short. But that mindset creates constant tension because it's built on an impossible standard. People are imperfect. We all are. We say things we don't mean. We lose our temper. We get tired and distracted. Sometimes we misunderstand. Sometimes we don't listen as well as we should. Sometimes we show up late, not because we don't care, but because we're human. Yet when others let us down, our first reaction is often frustration or disappointment. We act as if the mistake was intentional or as if it reveals something fundamental about their character. We say things like, they should have known better, I can't believe they did that. But how many times have we fallen short ourselves? How many times have we wished someone would understand that we were just having a rough day? Expecting perfection from people sets them up to fail in your eyes and sets you up to live in constant irritation. When you expect others to never make mistakes, you'll always find something to be annoyed by. And when you expect yourself to be flawless, you'll always feel like you're not enough. But when you expect imperfection, not as a negative view of people, but as a compassionate understanding of human nature, you create space for grace. You stop turning every misstep into a crisis. You start allowing people to be real, not ideal. This shift is not about lowering your standards, it's about softening your reactions. You can still hold people accountable. You can still expect honesty, respect, and kindness. But when they fall short, you don't internalize it as a betrayal or make it bigger than it is. You recognize that being human means messing up sometimes, and you handle it with clarity instead of anger. The same goes for how you treat yourself. Many of us are harder on ourselves than we are on anyone else. We carry shame for not being better. We beat ourselves up for not being productive enough, patient enough, strong enough. But self-improvement doesn't come from self-hatred. It comes from self-awareness and self-compassion. When you expect imperfection from yourself, you give yourself permission to grow instead of expecting yourself to already have arrived. You stop aiming for flawless execution and start aiming for honest effort. And when you fall, instead of spiraling into guilt or frustration, you simply get up and try again with more understanding, not more punishment. This mindset creates resilience. Because when you understand that life is messy, that people are learning, and that you are too, you don't break every time something doesn't go as planned. You adapt. You forgive. You keep going. Expecting imperfection doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care in a way that's sustainable. It means you're choosing love over control, growth over rigidity, and grace over judgment. You stop needing everyone to be perfect just so you can feel okay. You stop needing yourself to be perfect to feel worthy. And that shift, it brings a kind of peace that perfection never could. ChatGPT said, in every moment of conflict or frustration, there is a small but powerful window, a pause between what happens and how we respond. It's easy to miss. In fact, most of us do. We go straight from trigger to reaction, from offense to anger, from misunderstanding to defense. But hidden in that small space is something life-changing choice. And in that choice is your power. Most people live in reaction mode. Someone criticizes them, they snap back. Someone cuts them off, they yell. Someone disagrees, they feel the need to argue or prove their point. But when you live this way, you give away your emotional control. You become a puppet, pulled by every action, every tone, every word that doesn't sit right with you. What if you didn't react immediately? What if you took a breath first? That breath, so simple, so easy to overlook, is where everything can shift. The pause gives you a moment to reflect, to check in with yourself before your emotions speak on your behalf. In that space, you can ask, what's really happening here? Is this about me or about them? Will this matter tomorrow? Is this how I want to show up right now? Reacting is instinct. Responding is intention. The difference between the two is often just a second of silence. When you pause, you step out of automatic behavior. You interrupt patterns. You give yourself a chance to respond with clarity rather than chaos. That's where maturity lives, not in never feeling angry or upset, but in choosing how to handle those feelings. We've all had moments we wish we could take back words spoken in haste, texts sent out of frustration, decisions made in a rush of emotion. Almost always, those regrets come from moments when we didn't pause. We felt something intense and let it lead. But emotions are like waves. They rise, peak, and fall. If you can ride them for just a few moments instead of diving in headfirst, you often find that the need to react disappears altogether. That pause doesn't just protect others, it protects you. It gives you dignity in conflict. It keeps you from saying things that turn small problems into bigger ones. It helps you maintain your values even when someone else forgets theirs. And more than anything, it reminds you that your peace is not at the mercy of outside forces. Learning to pause is a practice. It doesn't always come naturally. You might catch yourself mid-reaction. You might pause after the fact and think, next time. And that's okay. Growth doesn't mean perfection. It means progress. Over time, the pause becomes a habit. You start to recognize the feeling rising in your chest, the heat, the tension, the urge to fire back, and you learn to sit with it instead of obeying it. The pause can be one breath, one step away from the conversation, one moment of silence before you reply. It's not weakness, it's strength, because anyone can react, but it takes real power to hold your ground with calm and decide what kind of person you want to be in that moment. And that's really what it comes down to: identity. Do you want to be someone who is constantly triggered and thrown off course by others? Or someone who stays steady, who responds with intention, who doesn't let temporary emotions cause permanent damage? The world will always give you reasons to react, but you don't have to take the bait. You can pause. You can breathe. You can choose. And in doing so, you reclaim control not over others, but over yourself. And that is where your greatest power lies. There's a moment in almost every disagreement, every misunderstanding, every slight, where we feel the pull to prove something, to prove we're right, to prove we're good, to prove we're not to blame. It's a strong urge, one that often disguises itself as justice or pride. But beneath it is something far more fragile: ego. And if we let ego take the wheel, we may win arguments but lose peace. We may prove our point but poison the relationship. The truth is, needing to be right is often a reaction to feeling unseen or misunderstood. It feels like if we don't correct someone, if we don't make them admit they were wrong, we're somehow surrendering a part of ourselves. But what if the opposite is true? What if strength isn't in proving, but in letting go of the need to? There's a quiet power in choosing peace over proof. It means you've reached a level of self-respect that no longer requires outside validation. It means your sense of identity is no longer built on being right all the time. And it means you understand that some battles just aren't worth the bruises they leave behind. Not every disagreement needs a conclusion. Not every critic deserves a response. Not every false assumption about you needs to be corrected. People will misunderstand you. People will project. People will misinterpret your silence, your decisions, even your kindness. You could spend your whole life trying to correct every wrong idea about you and still not succeed. Or you could live in a way that speaks for itself and let time and consistency reveal the truth. Choosing peace doesn't mean you let people walk over you. It doesn't mean you stop setting boundaries or standing up for what matters. It means you become more selective about where your energy goes. It means you ask yourself, is this conversation going to lead to clarity or just more noise? Is this argument going to bring us closer or drive us further apart? Is this about truth or just about pride? When you start choosing peace, your life gets lighter. You stop rehearsing comebacks in your head. You stop carrying conversations that never ended the way you wanted them to. You stop trying to change people who aren't interested in growth. You start protecting your inner world like it's sacred, because it is. It also changes the way others experience you. You become less reactive, more grounded. People feel safer around you because they're not constantly being challenged or corrected. That safety builds trust. And trust builds real influence, not the kind that demands agreement, but the kind that earns respect. Sometimes people lash out not because they want to fight, but because they're hurting. Sometimes they accuse you because they're afraid. Sometimes they push you because they want to see if you'll break. Choosing peace means seeing beyond the surface. It means understanding that many of the fights people try to start with you are actually fights they're having within themselves. You don't have to join them there. You can take a breath. You can step back. You can respond with calm or not respond at all. And that doesn't make you weak. It makes you free. Because the need to constantly prove yourself is a cage. And peace is the key. There's something profoundly liberating about knowing who you are, even if others don't. About knowing what happened, even if no one else gets it. About holding your truth without needing to shout it. So the next time you feel the urge to prove something, ask yourself, what am I actually trying to protect? If it's your pride, maybe it can survive without being right. If it's your peace, then let that be the proof. You are not here to win every battle. You're here to live in a way that doesn't require one.